Guys, how many times we're gonna go through this? Anytime an artist is on the cutting edge and they decide to make something that's not in the mainstream, there's always this initial pushback from fans. You saw this 11 years ago with Yeezus. At the time, the general consensus was this album was trash. You had sentient milk duds yelling on the airwaves that this album was trash and it wasn't worth your time. Now, Yeezus is considered a cult classic, arguably Kanye West's most influential album, and to some, their favorite and best Kanye West album. I mean, I disagree. His best album is Dark Twisted, but I digress. A more recent example of this is Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red. I remember this day vividly. It was Christmas 2020, and the holidays finally came after, quite frankly, a year. I vividly remember driving around my parents' neighborhood and playing this album, and immediately thinking, this is a classic. Only to wake up the next day to have my Twitter feed filled with the worst takes ever. You fast forward 6 months later, and everyone's dressing up like a vamp and raging at every single Rolling Loud concert possible. And I believe the same phenomenon will happen with Yeat's 2093. People will call it trash, fans will dismiss it, but in a few months, hell, maybe even a few years, fans will realize how fun and unique this album really is. So alright, enough glazing. Let's talk about why this album is so special. So from a societal perspective, I think there's this overarching feeling of doom and hopelessness in younger millennials and Gen Z. The economy sucks, the world is on fire, and we may be losing our jobs and livelihoods to AI. So to combat that, mother are going to the club. The last 2 years has been all about dance music. Drake and Beyonce both dropped house projects. And you had singles like I Wanna Rock by Lil Uzi and Everybody by Nicki Minaj. Both of these songs had everyone shaking their hips in the club. I guess you can't cry in the club if you're shaking your ass. So with the mainstream leaning towards more house and Jersey club, Yeat has decided to take us to the rave. A lot of the music on this album sounds like it should be played at a European warehouse club. Listening to songs like Breathe, I Love, and Riot Set It Off has me feeling like I'm in Berlin, waiting to get in line at Birmingham while talking to girls that look like Rico Nasty. The music on 2093 isn't catchy in the same way that Up To Me was, or 4L, or even Life was. The music is hard, it's aggressive, and it's industrial. It's really interesting to hear these industrial elements of abstract noises and synthesizers mixed with your stereotypical hip-hop nonsense, such as money, flexing, diamonds, etc. Wonder if 2093 will be this generation's introduction to industrial music, the same way that 9 Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine brought industrial music to the mainstream back in the 90s. I wouldn't say that this project is a pure industrial project akin to maybe like a Death Grip. The musical influences are all over the place. Power Trip and Tell Me sound like a song that could be on any Travis Scott project. On You Should Know, the transition sounds eerily similar to Pink Floyd's On the Run. And Shade sounds like a bastard child from Yeezus. I think what Yeat has been able to do so well is create a vibe. Now I know that sounds stupid. Every auto-tune crooner can create a vibe. But what is Yeat doing differently than his contemporaries? The answer comes from his cohesiveness and his willingness to lean in. Yeat has fully immersed himself into the sound, and he's not actively trying to get a commercial hit. The album from beginning to end feels like a movie. The intro, SafeModeCeo, starts the album with these sinister synthesizers, and this is where we're introduced to our main protagonist, Yeat. Yeah, my diamonds jump. Yeah, my money long. This guy is capitalism personified. Mr. Krabs ain't got on him. Throughout this album, Yeat touches on themes of not being in control, but also wielding an enormous amount of power. He talks about being a big CEO or feeling like God. And not to play armchair psychiatrist, but if you look at videos of Yeat back in the day, he looks like a dork. And that's not a diss. I'm a nerd. Nerds and dorks run the world. Your voice doesn't matter until you've made a name for yourself. Yeat has now made that name. He went from being this awkward kid to now having access to money, power, and clout. To me, it sounds like the money and the influence is creating a superiority complex within Yeat. Now, they say that comparison is the thief of joy, but let me cook. Let's compare this project to Lil Uzi's Pink Tape. This album was supposed to be a new journey for Uzi fans. Uzi was relying too heavy on cheap tricks, such as interpolation and heavy sampling. Examples of this is like the song CS, which interpolates Systems of Down by Chop Suey, or Endless Fashion that interpolates Eiffel 65. 2093 never does that. The album never wavers. The voice and the sound are consistent throughout. Alright, so there's some cons to the album as well. There's most definitely some fat that could have been trimmed from the track list. 22 tracks is way too much, but that's today's day and age in regard to streaming, right? Also, from like a lyrical perspective, yeah, the lyrics suck. But I mean, like, this is a Yeat project. I don't walk into a Yeat project expecting like Griselda level lyricism. Like, you wouldn't walk into a steakhouse looking for a salad, right? Like, you can find a salad, but like, are you dumb? Like, why would you do that? However, there are moments of like haunting lyricism, and maybe not lyricism in the traditional sense, but like these really haunting phrases. On the song, Yeat states, "I want to feel like a normal human being. I don't want to pop a pill." Or when he says, "When you feel amazing, do you feel a mess?" It's this juxtaposition of, you know, when you're at your highest or when you feel the best with drug use, you also feel like you're worse. These lyrics really show the power that drugs can have on a human. Similar to like how Future talks about his drug usage. Unfortunately, when drug use is being sung over cool ass beats, it kind of glamorizes drug abuse. But you know, art, aesthetics, drugs, and American pastime. If you trace Yeat's musical DNA, it would go all the way back to Lil Wayne and Kanye West. Let's use Wayne. Lil Wayne influenced the likes of Young Thug, who then influenced the likes of Lil Uzi, who then went on to influence this current underground generation of auto-tune crooners. So your Autumns, your Fago, Baby Santana, Wheeland, etc. However, in the sea of auto-tune crooners rapping on rage beats, Yeat has been able to distance himself by being the most consistent and unorthodox with his style. I think with this album, Yeat truly shines as an artist. Where in the past you could easily write Yeat off as a Travis Scott, Young Thug, Future clone who's appropriating a sound for a quick buck, a la Post Malone. But that is not the case. 2093 will be an album that we look back at fondly. From an artistic perspective, Yeat has even surpassed some of his predecessors.